Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Make a Good Mega Man Level Contest 2, or Magmal 2 for short. During the last part, I covered the winner of the Magmal 2 competition, that being Shinru's Identity Crisis. So in this part, I'll embark onto the Wily Star II. But before that, there are some things I need to take care of in the hub world. First off, let's visit the costume shop, and I'd like to correct an error I made in the previous part. If you defeat Alderman in the previous stage, you'll gain access to the Brightman and Hornetman costumes, not the Alderman costume. And here's Hornetman. Of course, he suffers from the same problem I mentioned in that stage, that being that he looks bigger than what his hitbox is. This is going to be a problem for some certain stages in the future, in particular Wily Stage 4, so I won't be using this skin. Instead, I'll be using the second costume you get by defeating Alderman, which is Brightman. Might as well give him his time to shine. Now, there are two more costumes that we can get, so next up, let's visit Nightman. I remember you from Rockman and Forte 2. So now let's collect the 178 Noble Nickel reward. Indeed, in order to collect 170 Noble Nickels now, you need to collect all of the Noble Nickels from all of the entry stages. And now we get the alternative weapons set. aka now we can use special weapons from a whole bunch of fan-made Roadmasters that were present in this competition. But they are restricted to certain costumes though. And also, by talking with Nightman with 170 Noble Nickels, we unlock the Alderman costume. But of course, I won't be using the alter weapons until I complete the main game. That way I don't just trivialize most of the challenges. Plus many players won't have collected all the 170 Noble Nickels yet, so might as well give the stages somewhat of a challenge, because the majority of the alter weapons, or rather all of them, are on the broken or overpowered side. Before I visit the costume shop, let me talk to Dr. Light as well, because he has a costume as well for us. By completing all of the entry stages and collecting all of their energy elements, we unlock the Dr. Light costume. And before I show that off, let's see how each of the special weapons and utilities work. Mainly the special weapons, because I forgot to showcase it for Hornetman. All of these are enemies from Brightman's original stage. And that icon on the bottom right, that indicates if that costume can use the alter weapon set. Here's Dr. Light. Basically Dr. Light with a buster. Rush Jet is item 2, Rush Coil is the spring, and Sakugarne is a very small pogo stick, but just look at Dr. Light's surprised expression here. And just like with Brightman, all of these are enemies from Hornet Man's original stage, though we don't have a replacement for the Sakugarne. And I see another interesting touch here. For all the dialogue boxes where Hornet Man is talking, I see a buzz at the end. I wonder if some other characters have their own vocal tics at the end. And here's Alterman. He basically has evil versions of all of the utilities, as you see with the Rush Coil, Rush Jet. Sakugarne is the same though. I would have expected that the eyes would be replaced with the freaky red dot as well. Not what I meant to do over there. I want to see if he has any other different interactions with the costume stalls. Nope, only for certain costumes. And as I said, I'm going to be using the Brightman skin for the rest of the Wily Star. Well, until the end, we're forcibly switched back to Mega Man, but that's gonna take a while. And don't you worry, I will be showcasing the rest of the costumes once I get into the post-game. Trust me, there is at least 1 or 2 dozen parts of this LP left, even during the post-game I'd say, if I were to be a bit generous. I've covered all that I could do in the hub world. Well, technically, I can go and complete the basic arena right now, the Roadmaster arena, before I go over to the Wily capsule, but I think I'll save that after the Wily Star is completed, or after I complete Tier X. Either one will do. To be fair, there is one last thing to do here, and that's to fully stock up on E&M tanks, and buy all the upgrades if you haven't. The E&M tanks will be super useful for some of the Wily Fortress stages coming up. Before I begin, a brief word of warning. Once you embark on the Wily Star stages, you will not be able to return back to the hub world whatsoever until all the Fortress stages are completed. However, your Fortress stage progress is saved upon sessions, so if you decide to exit the game and return back, you will not need to repeat the Fortress. You don't need to complete it in one go is what I'm saying. So without further ado, let's do this. Essentially explaining what I just said. So we started in Wily Stage 0, Outer Space. This is a horizontal space shooter stage where we're trying to approach the Wily Star itself. And we need to survive a bunch of flying enemies until we reach the boss fight. The enemy arrangement and enemy selection is going to be randomized between playthroughs, so no 2 playthroughs will probably be the same. Also of note is the wheel cutter's behavior is modified for this level. Instead of being able to hold it out front, it now fires in an arcing pattern. Also, the use of special weapons is highly recommended in this level, especially the dual satellite as it can one-shot most of the enemies here, and deflect all the projectiles. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for all enemy types, like for example the Take Tentos and Killer Missiles. And of course, the explosions can pierce right through the dual satellite. Also a helpful tip, all the enemies arrive from the right side of the screen going to the left. No enemies will spawn in from the left side of the screen. So staying on the far left side of the screen is highly recommended. In fact, this is the second top recommendation for the Wily Fortress No Damage Run challenge. And if you're wondering where the stage team originates from, it originates from the game The Billy's Quest, specifically the Thursday team. And that's the stage portion. Thank you for the warning message here. Taken from Mega Man X, I suppose. So the boss of Wily Stage 0 Outer Space is Vanguard. The first phase is quite easy actually. But Tier 2 is when this fight gets a bit more intense, with the spikes on the top and bottom parts of the screen. Plus, Vanguard has the same series of attacks as before in addition to the spikes. Thankfully the spikes only deal 7 points of damage, so that's a plus. Also for this boss fight, due to the invulnerability frames, I suggest you just use your regular pea shooter shots, or use its weakness, the slash claw. And the third final phase is the easiest one. It summons all these death beams, which you need to dodge, but they're telegraphed pretty well. They deal a truckload of damage though. Mind you, Vanguard is immune against all attacks in its third phase, but unfortunately, it forgot to move out of the way of that laser. And still I got hit by the laser over there. It deals 14 points of damage, so it can just two-shot you at full health. Nonetheless, we're in the Wily Star proper. And just like in Magma 1, each and every stage of the Wily Fortress is designed by a different judge. The final stage, Wily 6, is made by a combination of judges. So the first Wily stage is called Water Ducts. This is made by Pyro. And I gotta say, the music playing in the background, which is a remix of the medieval theme from Jazz Jackrabbit, it's awesome. And the main gimmick of this stage is the Centaur Man-esque sealing water gimmick, although it's a lot more violent and quicker than the Centaur Man stage version. And just like in Magma 1, the Wily Fortress stages are going to be using enemies and gimmicks from entry stages. Like we've seen the Hawk enemies from Sheriff Man's stage, we also have the horizontal presses from my stage, Conveyor Mayhem. Thank you Pyro for using this gimmick in your level, it's really appreciated. Here are the ghosties from Hot Man's stage. We also saw the Flame Crab enemies from Boil Man's level. Sadly, I undershot the ladder there. This is one of the situations where, because Brightman has a bigger sprite, I tend to undershoot the jumps a bit. And I gotta say, the introduction to the Rising and Falling Water gimmick in this level is done pretty well. In fact, I don't think this gimmick was used anywhere else in the competition. So glad to see Power introduced it. Same with the flipping platforms, in case players decide to play a set of levels that didn't include the flipping platforms. After all, you only need 65 energy elements to unlock the Wily Fortress, or rather the Wily Star. Like here, now it's placed over a bottomless pit, a more dangerous environment. Some of these jumps though, they're rather scary. Especially if you're not on your guard. And we also see the return of the indestructible enemies from Spiky Situation. Essentially, the name of the game here is to pay attention to the pattern of the water falling and rising, and use that to make your jumps. This stage is actually based off the stage Subterranean Canal from the 8 Vanilla Level Design Contest, or VLDC8 for short, that was created by the level creator World Peace. In fact, the exact same music is used for that level, and the water smashing gimmick is used in a similar way as well. And instead of the water falling and rising, we have the water rising and falling. Nice way to add more variety to this level. Honestly, I haven't been using the Grab Buster enough through this playthrough. I've been relying more on enemy drops, stage drops, as well as E&M tanks, which is quite a shame because the Grab Buster is super useful. I will be using the Grab Buster a lot more in the pit though. As these are fortress levels, I highly suggest the use of special weapons. In fact, for one Wily stage in particular, Wily Stage 4, the use of special weapons is mandated. And if you're having some trouble, the flash stopper can freeze the water in place. And this final segment is an auto-scrolling segment, similar to a part of Pyro's stage back in Magma 1. Somehow I screwed that one up. I was trying to do jump over there, but I was too late when breaking out of the slide. Thankfully, the checkpoint placement of Pyro's levels are on the more generous side. I feel this is a better execution of auto-scrolling in comparison to Pyro's Magma 1 level. It is a lot harder though. Oh, by the way, the sideways crushers can reach you from off screen. Once again, thank you Pyro for reusing my sideways press gimmick from Conveyor Mayhem. It's really appreciated. And overall, I'd say that Pyro did a pretty good job using the enemies and gimmicks from previous levels, while incorporating some new gimmicks, the water rising and falling gimmick, and then flipping it around to be falling and rising, or the other way around. I'd say that this is the middle of the road in terms of my favorite Wily Fortress status. It's my, I would say, fourth most favorite one. And now we fight CW-01P. Nope, we fight the Bubble Man mech, wearing these cool shades, with 2 different health bars. And are those the jellyfish enemies from Super Mario Bros. 3? Apparently Bubble Man traveled forward in time to steal a ride armor. He's rather slow with his own movement patterns, so the fight isn't that bad. Plus he does telegraph where he's gonna jump up again. And he also has a critical weakness to the Hornet Chaser. Of course, all the Fortress bosses have weaknesses, but for the Bubble Man mech, it's quite crippling because, well, you can actually attack Bubble Man from off screen. I guess Pyro forgot to disable the flag of the bosses being vulnerable when they're off screen. Otherwise, the Hornet Chaser just tears right through him, being able to deal 6 points of damage per hit. Something else I forgot to point out on the previous stage, with the boss fight of Vanguard. In the first phase of Vanguard, we had the regular boss team, but once we moved on to phase 2, we actually had the Fortress boss team, so nice transition. Alas, that's the end of the water ducts. So overall, in this part, I cleared out most of the things I could do in the hub world so far, outside of the regular arena, and completed the first 2 Wily Fortress stages, or rather the Wily Star stages. In the next part, I'll be completing Wily Star stages 2 and 3. Well then, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!